Hi everybody, welcome back to the first laboratory of cloud computing. So my name is Alex Palesandro and today I will present you how we can use KVM by creating our first virtual machine. And now we can also spawn contextualized VM, so how we can customize the configuration in order to use the VM or whatever we prefer. So first of all, in the first videos we saw how we can create, how we can use SSH, create an SSH connection. So I think if you are new to this, I think this is a good start. So I suggest you to give a look to those videos. So for the moment we have to just connect to our KVM server. So you know the password, you know this IP correspond to that IP on Crown Labs, so it's pretty easy. And now we can start with the creation of the VM. So the first command that we have to type is to create true directory inside the our home here. So we saw that we have those true. Perfect, they are empty obviously. And then let's move to the download of the cloud image for Ubuntu. So I already downloaded it, so we have here the file. Nice. So this will take some minutes. Normally you should find the same file in your home directory. If it's not there, you can use the link that we provide on the text of the laboratory. And so now let's start to copy this image inside the KVM pool. So as I said before, KVM pool will be used as a pool for your operating system image, so a custom pool. So we should simply copy that. Nice. And then we have to create the cloud-init configuration to customize the behavior of our VM. So cloud-init is a tool that is executed at the start of the VM as a service, and this service will set up the basic configuration of your VM. It can install package, change the default user, change password, install keys, and so on. So you have here you can find the documentation of cloud-init, and you can see plenty of different examples of configuration. It's a really powerful tool. The major drawback that you can notice is that since it is executed at the start of the VM, if it fails, it's easy to unnotice it. It's hard to have a feedback about the fact that it has executed correctly, because normally what it does is outputs an error line during boot when you have plenty of other lines, and it's easy to unnotice that, to really ignore that, because you think that is just another warning nobody cares about, but really it tells that your configuration is invalid and it will not perform the configuration that you would like to have. So please pay attention of the cloud-init output. We will see how in a few. So we have copied this, then now we have to start with our VM, and to do so we have to create the first file. The first file which is here, you can copy and paste it, and so it's also there in the attachment of the file. The file is called user data. So I already created it with all the configuration, but yeah, it's just cut and paste, and I changed also the information that we have to add for us. In particular, the most important one is represented by the public key we have here. So just a quick recap. What we have here is, okay, we have a users, so the list of users that will be installed on the VM. So we have Ubuntu. For Ubuntu, we say that the authorized keys, so the public key that are authorized are those. It is this sudo configuration, which allow him to do everything he wants, most likely. It belongs to the group sudo, and so it also have not to type the password every time, and also its shell is bash. Okay, yeah, this is easy. And then it sets up also password for that and authorize the fact that the password can be used as an authentication. So this is something that we show in the last video, is in the second part, and so for the moment we can decide also to disable it. Okay, so this key has to be created. So I already created this key, but I do it again to see how it works. So let's start. Okay, I use Vim, but you can use Nano the same way. It's pretty much the same. So we can create a key using this command. We already saw that in the last video. So yeah, you can. Okay, so we can create it. There is already a key. Never mind, we can overwrite it. No passphrase, no passphrase. Okay, we created the key. So here, sorry, I'm in case. Okay, so here you have the public key, which will be used in the VM. So we have to copy it and put in the other file that we saw before. So we can go here, say okay, it is important here, since we are in a YAML file, to pay attention on the indentation. So things that are part of the same list, for example, those users have to be exactly at the same level of indentation. This is really important. Please pay attention to that. This is quite common error when dealing with the first time with YAML, and also pay attention to this first line, which is really important because it tells to cloud config that your file here is a cloud config. So it's kind of a shebang in Bash, if you are familiar to Bash. Okay, so let's move to the next step. So I can erase the previous key. Okay, and then let's create the other file, which is metadata. I already created it also. We have to specify the host name that we want to create here. So for example, here I put test VM1. This will also be used by the cloud-init configuration. So now we can create a file which is the seed-init ISO, which is a kind of an archive that we will be used as a read-only device for our VM. So it's kind of a CD-ROM, a DVD, what you prefer, but the idea is that here we have a configuration that is pushed inside the VM using a device which cannot be modified by the VM itself, and it's pretty much one of the two ways that you can use to enforce a certain configuration inside cloud-init. The second way is to use a network service, which is commonly used, for example, in OpenStack or on AWS, but you can still use the same cloud-init tool using this approach. This is really complementary, and yeah, it's good to know that there are different ways, but the configuration is exactly the same. So we can do that. Okay. And now let's copy the file that we have inside the KVM ISO here, and we are pretty much done. So what we have to do now is to create the VM. So you can follow the steps here. It's pretty well documented and explained. There is also a presentation of one tool called virt-manager that show you how you can do that configuration without having to deal with all the complexity of manipulating files. So it's pretty much a CLI tool, a simpler CLI tool. But yeah, this is the way that actually cloud-init used to configure your VM, so it would be nice to understand it before using higher level tool. Okay, so let's move to the creation of the VM. So we will use virt-manager. You can launch virt-manager by simply typing this command, what is really nice, but you also can simply use, so launch virt-manager, you can go there and launch virt-manager. It's pretty simple. And then you have this, you have first to add a connection, if you are not using this way, that add a connection for you. And so you can say, okay, let's connect to NetLab, and then we have to type the IP, so it is 97, okay, 226. Auto connect, why not? We have to type the password, and then we are in. So we can we have control of this hypervisor. We can spawn VMs and do everything we want to do with its resources. So what we want to do, for example, is to create a new VM. We start by importing our pool. So MATLAB KVM pool, if I remember correctly. Yep, we find our VM, we select it, we say that this is in Ubuntu, voila, that version 24. We reduce the amount of resources for that VM because we have to spawn a few others VM, so let's stay on one CPU. Customize configuration, this is pretty important, and then we have to use the virtual network, which is NAT. So this is quite important because you have to have connectivity in order to connect to our VM. Okay, so let's finish that. What we have to do now is to first add the volume that we created. So we have to add another pool. Yes, KVM ISO, sorry. So on MATLAB KVM ISO here. Go here, and then we find our seed init ISO. Okay, nice. So here we have to change it. It's a CD-ROM device. It's a read-only device. We can leave SATA is fine. So what is important to optimize the way that you see the output of your VM is to disable all the devices that are here. We are not useful for our purpose. So, for example, the tablet, the SPICE device. Those devices are more suitable for a better user experience when you, for example, virtualize a desktop, but they are not really interesting in our use case. So we can also remove the sound, or remove video SQL, we keep the USB controller, but we remove the other one. Okay, so we are pretty much done now. So let's start, let's move to the start of our first VM. Okay, so let's start the VM and see what it happens. So the domaining is creating. You will see plenty of information. We can maximize it, okay. And then we will see the VM starting. So we are here, PCI bus, blah, blah, blah. The kernel is giving us some information about the hardware, and then welcome to Ubuntu. And we see that, yeah, cloud-init is starting. Yeah, so cloud-init is here. This is the network configuration. Then we have this messed up output, but yeah, at the beginning, at the end, sorry, we find that we have this test VM1. So this is pretty nice. We have successfully customized a default Ubuntu VM, and now let's try to connect to it because we installed our key. So we can copy the IP here. This is one way to obtain this address, but it's not the only one. So you say, okay, let's connect to it. The user was Ubuntu, and the IP is that one. We have to trust the host key. And then we are in, so we are inside our VM. So pretty nice, we have successfully created the new VM. And yeah, what we can observe here is pretty much what I have done. So it details pretty well how it works. So inside the VM, what is suggested is to remove the put a lower MTU to the device, because of the fact that the device is normally encapsulated inside the VM. So if you, for example, do that, you have this. Currently, you have 1050. So we can do that. So for example, sorry. Okay. We also need some, so we can observe that our connection is fine. Yeah, I think, yeah, I'm very lazy. Okay, our connection is fine. We are able to download packages. Yeah, it's nice. So in this setting, we are in a nested virtualization. So we are virtualizing inside VMs. So it's pretty slower than simple virtualization, single level virtualization. Then we install the tools that we require to do our performance tests. Okay, so I think this is pretty much it. So we can also shut down our VM if you have. So for the next step, which is cloning the VM, which you will see in the next video. Yeah, so let's do that. And we are done. So the connection is closed. The VM is now shut off. So thank you very much for your attention. Please try this lab and see if I hope this video helped you. And yeah, thank a lot for your attention, and have a nice lab.